I guess let's try and get into the swing of everything. Austin can't be here because he had kind of like a family emergency thing, and he's got stuff going on with that. So hopefully he can just pick everything back up and come in next time. But cool. So I've got like literally 51 pages of notes that I took on these first 8 chapters.
Jesus, dude.
But I mean,
I'm glad you're the host and not me, because I have no note. I read it through twice and was like, cool. Let's get rid of this.
That's all you need. So what I took notes on was like sort of the sequence of events. I took notes on notable panels that I thought that might be worth discussing, and then I took notes on like notable quotes that might contain something important. And sort of the way that I thought that we could try and go about this, but I'm open to doing it however, is that maybe we can start with like a general overview, and then, you know, just go through the sequence of events of chapters, and like we'll just stop at points that sound interesting to talk about. Does that sound good, or do you guys have any thoughts about different ways to approach that?
No, I'm cool for it.
Sounds good.
Okay, cool.
Because I just tried to like take one thing per chapter, so
yeah,
I'm not gonna go in any order.
Yeah. Okay. Cool. Well, I let's open it up general. You know, unfortunately, Austin can't be here, and you know, Malik and Hiram have like prior exposure, but so I let's open it up to you, Logan. Like, what is your overall first experience? What has that been like?
I think this is the guy that Nietzsche warned us about. With he who hunts monsters must be careful not to become a monster himself.
I think so.
And I think Guts is having a really rough time and lashes out. I don't understand Puck's role in the manga.
Oh, really?
Well, Puck just seems like a comic relief character.
Yeah.
Like, I'm sure maybe Puck has a more developed role.
Yeah.
But just a really, really strange character in the midst of the doom and gloom that is wherever Guts is.
Yeah. And I'm not sure where this has actually come from, because I don't think it's from interviews with Miura or anything like that, but I've heard people talk about Puck's presence in this first arc, and I get it. I get why he's there. I think that if it were just Guts going through all of this and not having any sort of outside voice of reason and comic relief, it would just be so doom and gloom and filled with misery to the point where I don't think it'd be an enjoyable experience. And I know that some people would probably enjoy that and think that it would be a better like piece of art for it, but I get why Puck's there, and I think that it's a valuable character to have. I mean, Hiram, Malik, do you guys have any thoughts?
So I actually think Perksets
as 30.
He serves an important role is in the sense that he's the audience a lot of, because like we don't know at this point, we don't know why is Guts angry. Why is he acting the way he's acting? What's going on? Well, who else doesn't know? Puck. But we can't ask questions. But you introduce a character like Puck, who is not jaded, because the audience isn't jaded either. Like about how awful this world is yet. You have him go, okay, let's start asking Guts these questions. Because he does. He asks Guts like all kinds of things, like, hey, you're going to help these people? Why aren't you helping these people? Or you're a monster. Stuff that the audience would be in asking while they're reading. I think that's the role he serves in this first arc. And I think it's if he wasn't here, we wouldn't be getting people asking those questions. And I would think it actually would make the story less interesting.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, go ahead, Logan.
Yeah. No, I mean, for me, I think it's interesting with Puck because he seems to be a barometer also of where Guts is at. Because and it only works for Puck because if anyone else asks Guts questions in the early chapters, he just dismisses them and says piss off.
Yeah.
But he tries to piss off Puck all the time. But Puck is defenseless.
Yeah.
And because he's a little goober, a small little fairy goober, Guts is inclined to entertain this for more than 2 seconds. With anyone else, he's just I don't care. You're annoying. You're not in my direct vicinity. I'm trying to go, and you're not a demon. So I'm just moving. Yeah.
I really, really like that Puck is an empath. I feel like there's so many scenes that reveals that something's lurking beneath the surface when Puck senses things in Guts in these chapters. And without Puck, a supernatural entity capable of, that kind of empathy, we wouldn't really have that, and it Guts would just seem like an asshole with no real rhyme or reason to it. So I think we need Puck to see beyond that. So yeah, I guess let me check and see if I have any general questions. I guess Logan, was there anything about these chapters that went against your expectations for what you were going into?
Yeah, no, I thought it was going to be mainly just fantasy based as far as the thematics, but the moment he gets sucked into the realm of the God Hand, it gets very H.C. Geiger inspired. I'm okay, I didn't know even with the first monster that he fought was very H.C. Geiger inspired. But also it's some of the characters are just from Hellraiser, which I thought was super fun.
It's straight up Hellraiser.
Yeah, and I was just wow, okay, it's kind of fun.
Yeah.
And I think I want to see how much inspiration he draws from the story of Hellraiser.
Yeah.
If at all, or how different it gets, because I already forgot the name of the little creature, the little egg with eyeballs and mouth.
Oh, Behelit.
Yeah, because I took that as being a stand-in for the box and Hellraiser.
Yep.
But,
yeah, I still need to watch Hellraiser, but from the clips that I've actually seen of it, it's straight up the summoning of the God Hand is very, very similar to.
Just watch the first one. Don't watch the rest of it.
Okay.
Do yourself a favor. Just watch the first one.
Okay, I'll be sure to do that. Yeah. So during our first session, I talked about hey, these first set of chapters are not necessarily representative of what this series becomes, and I kind of gave a warning that maybe if you're not vibing with the kind of feelings evoked with it, maybe just stick with it. How did you guys feel about the overall vibes of the Black Swordsman arc? Did you feel like it was I guess too explicit, too dour, too I don't know. What are your thoughts overall on the aesthetics, the vibes, the themes?
So I went in not knowing or thinking it was going to be explicit, because I've only heard that about Berserk, about it being very graphic, and I mean it is, but I don't think it was too egregious to the point where I thought it was too much. And I think the only parts where it seemed a little out of place were whenever Guts was reacting to the horrors, because horrors beyond comprehension, I think it is perfectly fine to do in media. I think it's how you get your character to react to them.
Yeah.
That really makes that egregious or not egregious. I think there were points where Guts' reaction, I'm trying to think of the scene when he was with was it the priest and the daughter in the carriage?
Yeah.
Yep.
His reaction to that whole scenario seemed much more extreme to when he met the was it the Duke or the Count?
Yeah, the Count.
And I felt like there was a weird I don't know, imbalance where he was super invested in two people that he just got sucked along or swept up with.
Yeah.
Versus this person that he's been seeking out. He seems much more happy with one than the other.
Well, I mean, I take that as that those two were not meant to get involved. Those two were just casualties that he did not want to cause. They weren't standing in his way. He wanted them to leave him alone. And it's, in a way, it's his fault vicariously for not staying away. Because he knows he attracts the monsters and he stayed with them anyway. Mm-hmm. That's why I think his reaction is that way. Versus the Duke, which is like the enemy he's chasing. You know, that he knows this is a monster. He knows that he's not responsible for what happens between him and this thing, because this thing's evil. This thing's a demon. Versus that other situation.
Yeah.
Well, so I get that, but with the there were some other characters in the same arc when he goes to the city with the Duke, where he makes it pretty apparent that he doesn't care what happens to them. Like the scientist, he just is okay with them dying, but is not okay with it seemed like the daughter dying. And so I'm trying to figure out if there's something more to be said there.
Oh, but, yeah. I think that there definitely is, and I think we'll get to those points and like kind of expound upon them once we do. But the major difference there, you know, because the Count is very guilty. He's, you know, going forward a little bit, he's an apostle. He, in Guts' eyes, he's evil. And the girl, Colette, I think is her name, she is guilty of nothing. Vargas is still consumed by revenge. Vargas is the scientist, and we'll talk about this a little bit later, but I think that the reason that Guts is so cruel to Vargas partly is because he sees himself in Vargas. And we'll get to kind of a lot of the parallels there, because you know, I think that there is a lot here, like a lot of setting up of cards that I certainly didn't notice in my first read through, and definitely picked up on this time. So, but yeah, like going off of like Guts's reactions to you know, Eldritch horrors. You know, the first page, I mean, this is a controversial thing. Some people really do not like the introduction of Guts just having sex with a succubus and then blasting her to bits. And I think it's... I was just going to say, it's an interesting start. Like,
well, the reason why I think people don't like it is that scene, while on paper is such a cool idea, like a Guts just blowing that thing away, you know, it in hindsight it doesn't make sense, and I will leave it at that.
Yes. Yeah.
Right.
And I was thinking about the, you know, any sort of like future stuff aside, I was thinking about the idea of forcing yourself to be intimate with something, especially while we know that, you know, Guts has his brand, and it in the presence of demons, it, you know, gets exceptionally painful, and he's just like basically like hate fucking this thing. It's just like this weird swell of emotions that I don't know. And for the first page of something like this, where it's notorious, and especially in like recent years with like blowing up on Twitter of just being like, you know, sexually explicit violence and gore for the sake of sexually explicit violence and gore and hate against women and all this other stuff that Twitter went off about. I think that having that as like a first page, as a first impression, can really set a tone that might lead people to think that this is something that it really doesn't ultimately turn into.
Right.
Yeah.
Kind of piggybacking off of that, Caleb, I guess the interesting thing is it all kind of loops around to like, I feel like that first page works in a weird way because it's almost as if this is what Guts wants you to think he's about.
Yeah.
Like a lot of early Berserk, because I've read this, I've fallen off like 3 times now, and each time I've been at a different stage in life. And at first it was like, oh, this is edgy, and I'm not supposed to be reading this. I'm too young, so this is cool. And then it's like, oh, this is like edgy, and I relate to it because I'm in my edgy teen years, and I want to just fester in this. And now as an adult, I'm like, oh, Guts actually is a human being who's trying to sit in his anger in a weird way. But like it's hard to do that, right? If you've ever tried to stay mad for like 24 hours straight, like you're probably gonna, someone can cut a joke and then bust you out of it, and you're like, dang it, I'm trying to stay mad. No, don't make me laugh. Don't make me feel happy. Don't make me smell the roses, you know? So like Guts almost does things in a way that's not the best to get what he wants, but it keeps him angry so he can justify what he does in a weird kind of way.
Yeah. Anything to not let the veil of anger break down.
His weak human spirit.
It's a self-defense mechanism.
Exactly.
The moment he's not angry anymore is the moment everything else he's been trying not to feel, he starts to feel.
Yeah.
As someone who has dealt with, like, everyone has had like some form of emotional trauma in their life.
Oh, sure.
It is way easier just to be mad at the problem than to actually address the problem.
Sure.
And the other thing I'll say about the scene, you got to realize that Miura, I don't think, and correct me if I'm wrong, Caleb, he was not as famous or a successful mangaka yet. This was his breakout stuff, right? Like, I'm not.
To my knowledge, he didn't have anything like super well known before this. So
all right, so how you got to have something in your first chapter,
a hook, sure,
a hook to get people to go. What the hell is this? What is this?
Yeah.
And I feel like a lot of authors do that, like not to that extent. I mean, look at Dragon Ball. The first 2 pages, Goku gets hit by a car. I mean, and gets shot, and he's fine. Like, that's an eye catch. Like, okay, 1 minute, what's going on with this kid?
Maybe I should read Dragon Ball. That's
literally like the first 3 pages that happens. And you know, I mean, it's a way to get your attention immediately.
Yeah.
Whether or not I think it is a good way to get your attention, I don't think matters. But it's what it was trying to do.
Gotcha.
But you definitely see it a lot in shonen, where like any big shonen, especially or long ongoing shonen, the first chapter or the first arc is a complete different series almost to what happens in the end. Because especially how competitive some magazines are, you kind of just see the mangakas do whatever I can so I don't get axed after like chapter 3. Like I just want to get a chance to like draw a thing, and like I have to have as many people glued to this as possible to justify it. So sometimes it really is like you'll see, like if you've ever seen a manga come out and then go back and see what the draft was, you know, and what themes carried over from my one-shot draft to the actual finalized first chapter. It's really interesting because they almost had to like make compromises to the vision to get that chapter off. So it kind of reminds me of like God of War with the shock factor of like Kratos is just on a boat having sex with women 2 seconds in, but it has nothing to do with the gameplay at all going in for God of War when you start.
It's God of War 1, and it makes no sense with what that character is to even have those women on the boat, like, because of what the story's about, but they had to do something.
Sure.
It's just there to let you say, I'm playing a rated M for mature game. I'm an adult, and this is completely different from what I played before.
Yeah. Yep. And I think all of this, you know, feeds into the fact that there are people out there who say, hey, skip the Black Swordsman, go straight into Golden Age. Right. And I am not an advocate of that. No. I think that this does good stuff and good setup. I think that there's stuff here. The one thing I will say is that, going straight into Golden Age without having this context, it does keep the illusion that everything's just, Middle Ages combat, humanity versus humanity, and then, something happens supernatural and you're like, whoa, what the hell? Like, I thought this was just like, like medieval wars and whatnot, but yeah. So let's keep going here. So they have the succubus scene, the shock factor. Moving things along, Guts is walking into a town and he passes by, a wagon full of people that we find out are being carted off to like the Snake Baron's place to be cannibalized by him. And let's see, there's the infamous bar scene where Guts basically just walks in there while shenanigans are ensuing, and people are basically pestering Puck, which I thought was interesting that they're able to have Puck in their presence and see him and everything, but that's a whole other thing. And you have to confuse me for my like little bit of head fog about this scene, because this whole bar scene has been done a couple different times and it's different in the anime. So
it's different every time.
Yeah. So like in one iteration, they're being mean to a girl instead. They're being mean to the girl Colette who gets killed on the carriage instead of Puck. And then in another one, they have a character
that makes more sense in some way.
Yeah, it does. It does.
I actually like that. That's the 97 one, right?
Yeah, that's the 97.
Yeah, that's my favorite version of this scene. But slightly off topic, but this bar scene is done like in lots and lots of like fiction.
Okay.
I don't know if anyone here read the books, but the original Witcher short story that everything came from, this bar scene is very similar. This is how he gets his first hunt in the Witcher books.
Gotcha.
I don't know what was first, but this is something, if you like look at lots of fictions, like with like a character walking to a bar, something could move the plot along. This is like a very common trope.
It does feel very archetypal, like a Black Swordsman walks into a bar, like crazy shit ensues. Anyways, you get that really nice reveal where Guts he originally uses his like winding up crossbow on his arm to shoot the guys, but then you get the nice like double page spread of him like using the full sword for the first time and just absolutely cutting the guy in half. And I think that's a good point to bring up. Like what was your guys' impressions of the art going through this? Did you have any standout moments where you were like, holy shit, or were there things where you're like, I think that I don't really gel with the style, or what were you thinking, like Logan?
Yeah, no, I had one scene that or one panel that I thought was really neat artistically, but it was with Thracia, and she's talking about her mom, and as she's remembering her mom's hair kind of blends in with her hair, and I think it's a way to kind of tie those two characters together, to just say like they are related.
Yeah, and they do.
I don't know. I just thought it was I think there were a lot of other scenes where he makes good use of like spilling out of the panels. I don't know what the proper term for that is, but he'll switch from the panels to doing full page stuff.
Yeah. One thing that I can really praise Miura for is panel flow. I think that there's some manga where, I haven't read a ton of stuff, but if you're not noticing the fact that panel flow is a thing, then they're doing a good job at it, because it's like it's in the background and you're not thinking about it. And the fact that I've given this like manga to my dad and he's reading through it is insane to me. Like that he can pick that up and like learn how to read right to left, and he can just read through this no problem, because I feel like that was a barrier that was never going to be crossed. But I think it does a really good job with that. The only thing that I can critique that I can really give is sometimes like during the crazy fight scenes where Guts swings the sword and just chaos ensues and there's stuff going everywhere. I'm just like, all right, I don't really know what's going on here, but I'm just gonna like, you know, scroll and kind of figure out.
That was the entire fight in the stairwell that he had with the general
fucking Zondark.
And I'm just like, what is going on? Like something is coming from some part. I guess he got tripped.
I mean, I just think even early Miura was a master of paneling, and he just gets better and better as
yeah, for sure.
I think maybe just because he read a lot of manga before he did this, but like he just knows like exactly how to make a page flow better than almost any other manga I've ever read.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I'm a big fan of the negative space. Like,
I think
the only other mangaka I've ever like read the work of that really focused on, hey, I'm using black and white, and you can get a hard contrast with that. Is like Tite Kubo for Bleach, who literally wanted to name his manga like Black, White, or Snipe, just because he loves those colors.
That's a good name.
But I feel like whenever like Miura is gonna do something really cool, he really does a good job of like, this is a white panel, and here's just the Dragon Slayer, or here's Guts' cloak. Focus on what here's the transition of motion, and then when the double spread page happens, you actually feel
it.
How he had to move that whole hunk of iron down. Where I think some mangaka don't ever do a good job.
There is an absolute gravity to that sword in certain scenes, and I mean, the places where this series goes in terms of that idea of negative space, like some of my favorite panels utilize that and are just absolutely incredible. But yeah, I guess moving things on, Guts eventually gets like apprehended by guards. You know, he gets imprisoned and tortured. Kind of shows that he's, you know, he's all scratched up, he's all bruised, he's no stranger to this. And you get a nice little scene where the mayor is meeting with the Snake Baron. Let's see. Guess I didn't take the best notes there, but Guts wakes up in his cell. Puck manages to find him, so he was, you know, not the nicest to Puck, but I guess, you know, he helped him out with killing the dudes that were bullying the hell out of him. So he yells at Puck to leave him be. There's a funny scene where Puck falls in piss.
Oh, that's supposed to be piss? I didn't really.
Yeah, because he's like, is this? Wait, this isn't water?
Oh, yeah, he does. Yeah. Actually, backing up a little bit. So, like, this is a thing that, like, I've always ignored over every adaptation of like Berserk ever, but like the weird like eldritch like fetus looking tiny demon thing that I've always just kind of ignored that thing, and like this time I'm like, I can't ignore it because it keeps popping up, and then it kind of, I don't want to skip too ahead, but it kind of like blends together with the other things that keeps happening where Guts, like, there's always that ominous JoJo feeling of menacing coming around, and that's typically that fetus shows up first, and then like some skeletons will show up or some ghosts will show up, and then Miura will do weird things with like the faces of these ghosts or the voices, and it almost feels like anybody Guts is around, or like the grief of other people or Guts' own grief just like takes over, so that fetus's face will change into someone else's face. Yeah, I don't know what Miura is trying to tell me with this, so I'm just like trying to make mental notes of every time this thing shows up. And like, what's it doing? It just looms over Guts in a weird way.
That's a good idea. That's a good idea.
I don't know if it's helping him. I don't know if it's trying to eat him. I don't know if it's trying to like just touch his brand. But I'm always curious, like, to see if it gets close enough to Guts, what would it do also? Because I'm just assuming it would do harm because it's a demon. But I don't know.
Which fetus? Which one are you talking about?
So like it has a very distinctive look in the scene where he's in the cell. and Puck finds him. If you flip through the pages there, there will be a little fetus thing on the ground that he looks at. And that'll show up a couple times throughout these chapters. And then one thing that I do want to bring up, and Logan, I'm not sure if you can find it.
Oh, that one, yeah.
Yeah. In the cell, Puck notices Guts' brand, and then Guts berates him, and then Puck leaves. And after Puck leaves, I'm not sure if you can pull up this panel, Logan, but Guts sort of mutilates his arms in a way, kind of like this. Like he's like...
Oh, you mean like this? Yeah, I got it.
Yeah, if you could put that up to the camera.
Yeah. Talking about this one?
No, that's not him mutilating his arm. That's just him checking it. That's his robotic arm.
I did not catch that.
No, this is like right here where he's like scratching his arm.
Did not.
No, that's... Here, show it.
Right there. It does the scratch.
Oh yeah. Wait, okay, yeah.
Like
that's it.
Ripping into his arm.
Yeah. Okay, sorry, my bad. Yeah.
No, you're good.
And that's interesting. Yeah.
That's making me think of something, actually.
Yes, it does.
Okay, 1 minute. I didn't catch that.
Yeah.
Okay,
so that's one of the things that I caught, and I was like, oh shit, like that is noteworthy, I'll say. So that's the cell scene. The metaphorical camera cuts outside, the village is in chaos. I wrote, children are being mounted on poles, and their blood is like dripping into the mouth of the fiend. So essentially, Guts murks the Baron. He comes out there on his steed, and Guts just murks the shit out of him. But then he ends up transforming into his true form, which is a giant snake, very reminiscent of the snake guards in Sen's Fortress in Dark Souls. In Dark Souls 1 in particular.
That's another thing that I completely forgot about with like the first couple chapters, and I think it's just because there was a lot of time, but there seems to be, and this is what I meant when I said like very H.C. Geiger inspired, but there's a lot of phallic and the antithesis of phallic is imagery in the demons, and H.C. Geiger did that all the time.
You will see why pretty soon.
Yeah,
that is a recurring theme throughout the entire series.
Yeah, I'm gonna like share
like the mouth of the snake creatures.
Yep.
Very penetrative. Yeah.
Here, can you guys see this stream?
Yes, we can.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm gonna move it over. Yeah, so I'm gonna skip ahead a second just to go off of the phallic point, because one phallic, but two, two, like phallic.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it's definitely a thing, and just take note of it. Also, one thing that I want to bring up, and we'll sort of get to this, but make it a note to pay attention to the eyes of the characters, because
I realized they a lot of the creatures have like almost like a snake eyes, and it seems like, especially with like the later scenes where I don't know if I was supposed to read this far ahead, but like when they get to the MC Escher round,
no, you were.
We meet the God Hand. Yeah, it seems like it. The scene with Griffith, like they did an all black panel with just his eyes, and they also did one a little earlier with the Duke. I think there was also another scene where it just focused in on his eyes, and their eyes were very snake-like. It looked like.
Yeah. So let's see here. Essentially, Guts fights the Snake Baron.
Very fantastical, by the way. Like Guts is, this is not his first rodeo. He's cutting down like a whole battalion by himself.
That's the thing, dude. The amount of people this dude is killing, like, it's nothing.
It is nothing to him. Listen, they're playing Dark Souls.
Yeah.
He's playing Dynasty Warriors.
The crazy thing to me isn't always the amount of people that he's killing, which should be crazy, but just the sheer like stuff that the sword cuts through. Like they're in fully plated armor, and there's one section where like he hits a guy that's like leaning on a pillar, and then the pillar behind him like shatters.
An entire pillar.
It's ridiculous. It's still high fantasy, like crazy shonen, strongman energy, but it's he's very strong. So
hear the Doom music playing.
Yeah, Dune. So after Guts goes sicko or sadist mode,
or both.
Yeah, pretty much. The Snake Baron reveals that the brand is called the Brand of Sacrifice, and that's what's on his neck, and that's what you'll see many a Berserk fan getting tattooed on many different places.
Yeah, I have seen that tattoo several
times. It's not going to show up.
Such as Hiram.
There it is.
Yeah, there it is. Yeah,
Brave man.
He's branded. I know. Crazy.
Demons in your sleep.
Guts reveals that he's searching and hunting after an entity known as the God Hand, which is an interesting name. We'll later find out that there's 5 of them and 5 fingers. So, the God Hand. I skipped past the iconic quote. It was much too big to be called a sword. Massive, thick, heavy, and far too rough. Indeed, it was like a raw heap of iron. Pretty good. Some of the animes use that to really good effect. And then one thing that I think we kind of skipped over is that a couple times in this first chapter, it's made very clear that Guts has an aversion to being touched. Like, he does not like it. And then I got one other additional quote here from Guts that says, as he's speaking to Puck, I believe, anyone who dies because they get caught up in someone else's fight is a small fry who doesn't have the strength to survive in the first place. If someone can't live their life the way they please, they might as well die. So that's the philosophy that Guts is kind of working with at this point in time. He's very...
Mm-hmm. And I think I took that when I first read that as that's just what Guts tells himself, so he can be okay with the amount of death and destruction and like absolute horrors that he's saying. He's just like, that's fine. They were gonna die anyways,
Yeah.
And he because otherwise, he's gonna see it for the true horror that it actually is, and I think break. So, kind of like what Hiram says, I think it is part of a defense mechanism where he's just like, this is fine. These people were gonna die anyways.
Yeah.
And thank you for bringing up this panel.
I got that with I got that with Theresa too, because he literally said like, if you're so upset with what happened, kill yourself.
Yeah.
Just die, and then like. She gets ready to fall, and he's like, "Oh nope, I changed my mind. I'll save you."
I love that he saved her there.
Yeah.
I think that what I wrote down was that he allows her to have a choice in the matter. He's he's gonna make sure that she lives, but he understands that. Yeah, essentially what you were saying, Logan. I really like that. Notable panels. I like this. The first time that Puck learns Guts' name, he's just face down in a cell, presumably covered in blood and pee and poop and whatever, and he's just like, it's Guts.
Real quick, I just want to comment on that panel.
Yeah.
All right, they disarmed him, right? Took all his armor. Why didn't they take his hand?
They probably don't even know how to take that thing off, man.
Yeah, they're like... That's a good point. I have no idea.
That's
yeah.
I don't know.
Yeah.
They saw at that point. They saw what it can do, right? Like
I think some of my stuff. Yeah.
He definitely.
Yeah.
He definitely uses it to get out of some hairy situations. I took a screenshot of this one because I do like the little bits of comedy that we get in this from Puck. and Guts and the relationship that they have together. And I do think that it does bring some levity to the situation in a good way.
It does make me worried, though. Something's gonna happen to Puck.
Oh no!
I feel like Puck is the example of, like, if something happens to Puck, like, Guts is forever changed, because that's your barometer, that's your buddy, that's your little sidekick, that's your guy. So if he goes, like, you don't expect him to go, like, too early, you know? Like, Guts would have to make a decision for Puck to go.
Yeah.
Puck is gonna be a perfect tool to step the manga up to the next arc. Like, nope, we're not having fun anymore. Your comic relief gone.
New game plus. Yeah,
it's just like.
I got this one. I really love the all black, just one eye thing.
Yeah,
that is something I actually did want to talk about, but on a different panel.
Sure.
But this one we can for sure. Is that how many mangaka have you seen where they don't want to put their character's face front and center? Like, that's like they want it to be, you know what the character looks like, they want it to be that. But in these early chapters, he uses the dark, the black and white to, like, show so much without showing his face. Does that make sense about what I'm saying there?
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, no, definitely.
There's a lot of expression he's getting out of just one eye, too.
Like, you don't get a good look at Gus's full face for, like, a decent chunk, like, from page number 1 till, like, oh man, it's not until, like, he saves Puck, I want to say, is when you actually get a good, clear look at Guts' face.
Yeah.
Everything is, like, side panel, like, half face covered, cloak. It's mainly his outfit, him strolling, and then you finally get to see his whole body, and again, using, like, some white negative space. So you focus on, like, this is the man where the dart came from in that direction.
Sure. Part of the reason I wanted to bring up this panel is that I don't know about you guys, but I can definitely think of at least some pieces of media that utilize this, like in essentially figures going, like, Super Saiyan mode, and they get, like, a power up and, like, one eye, like, flame is coming out of, like, for example, Hiram. I'm not sure, like, no major spoilers or anything, but in Final Fantasy 16 it's used once.
And it's awesome. It's great.
So just something to keep in mind there. And, you know, also we kind of just jumped over Guts's character design, and now would probably be a good time to talk about it. But, you know, like, this is a man that's, you know, we meet him and he's already been dismembered. You know, he's missing his left arm. He's missing his right eye. He is a broken man that's been torn apart. And, you know, he carries this massive, heavy, thick sword that no one man should be able to wield. And, you know, I'm just going to come out and say it, you know, it's a metaphor for the baggage that he carries.
Demons.
Yeah. And one thing that I really like is that in a lot of the artistic depictions of Guts with the sword, it's covered up. So, like, you know, it'll be under a cloak on his back. So it's like he's carrying this, but he's not showing it to the world. And I think I think that's used to great effect. Not just in
that is really interesting too, because in the scene where he's in the carriage with the priest and his daughter, his sword is exposed, so it's almost
he's like burying himself,
like he's revealing a little bit of himself.
Like, they're having a heart-to-heart conversation.
And look what happens. You know, he gets attacked by an incubus, which is the demon that creates bad dreams, and then his, you know, trauma starts to visit him, and then 2 innocent people die, and then he closes himself back up. So it's just
moral of the story, don't open up to anybody. Hide those feelings.
But basically, I think it's interesting that it is a metaphor for his baggage, and like most other like protagonists, they would brandish their weapon as a way of, like, a deterrent, like, hey, back off of me, I have, like, here's my weapon of choice, and they go, oh, okay. But Guts, it's like, this thing stays behind me, and it doesn't come out unless I'm killing somebody. If I pick up this sword, someone's getting slashed in the very next panel, and they die. And then it goes right back. There is no, like, playing around. I'll use the crossbow, or maybe my daggers.
Yeah.
Like, you know, if I want to like kind of play around with you, but that's it.
Yeah, that's one thing that I also wanted to touch on, you know, throughout these chapters. You know, you would look at Guts from an outside looking in and think that, you know, he's just a ridiculously strong sort of brutish figure, but he's so dexterous and intelligent. Like the precision that he has with the knives that he throws and some of the, like, the strategic stuff that he does in these chapters just already shows that, like, this is a dude that's familiar with combat and battle, and he's not just strong, he's battle smart.
One thing we'll say is when it comes to fighting, Guts is one of the most intelligent characters just in anything.
Yeah.
Like, if it's very rarely a brute force match.
No.
In anything.
Right. And you would assume it's brute force given his outfit and his attitude, but like if you can kind of tell just by the first chapter, anyone was just mad. It was just you're angry, you're strong and angry. You would have died a long time ago fighting the uphill battle Guts is fighting, you know? You just can't make it there with just anger alone. So there's something else there.
Yeah. Yeah, for sure. They got the Snake Baron design. Let me see. If I open up a Google window, can you guys see the Google?
Yep, we can see it.
Okay.
Yep. Yeah.
Snake Dark Souls 1. I just have to do this. No, not France.
Not France.
Sends Fortress Snake.
Oh, I like how that's the first thing.
The grandpa snake.
It's not even really the best one, but you can kind of see the influence.
I've seen it.
The Naga, right?
Yeah, that's true. I mean, a lot of the stuff in Berserk is very, you know, high fantasy, epic myth inspired. So yeah, for sure. And then we have
somebody in the campaign we were playing.
Oh yeah.
I brought up that I was reading Berserk and how it's very much inspired by, or it just feels like it's just the Hellraiser. And they pointed out that Griffith is just grabbed from like a musical from the 70s.
No way. What musical?
Yeah. I forget the name of it, but let me get the picture real quick.
Okay, cool. And we have Ahe Guts getting the Ahego face.
Why would you say words, Caleb? I don't like those.
I had
words
to do
it.
It was funny.
I can't unsee that now. I didn't even think of that.
There, I posted the image of the character that Griffith's based off of.
Oh, so it's like a.
Oh wow, that is.
Whoa! What the fuck?
Griffith. Yeah.
Oh my god! I didn't
like
realize that. That's crazy.
Yeah, I forget the name of the musical.
Wow. Dude,
sure,
because
we can reverse image search that and we can find it.
Because I always thought that Griffith is.
How do you spell Griffith? Is it
So
G-R-I?
Yeah.
F?
Griffith. Yeah, it's
No,
TH.
My brain's not working.
But no, being having the Christian upbringing that I did, I always thought that Griffith in his femto form looked like a fucking Bible man. Do you guys know Bible man?
I do. Yeah. You don't grow up with a Bible belt and not know
Bible
man.
Thought that was funny.
All the panels are good. I'm gonna say that about every single one of them. Just gonna get out of the way.
This one, I mean, the framing's just great. The eye thing. Then you got the iconic.
But even like
he says the name of the thing.
He said the thing.
Like, just I actually adore how Puck is drawn so differently than every other character.
Yeah.
Like it works so well to like he still is very human, but he has enough alien features to like differentiate him so well.
Yeah. Was I the only one that, upon first exposure to Berserk, thought that Puck was a girl for the longest time?
No.
Okay.
If
I
my
think
first
the anime
go ahead,
adaptations made me realize he wasn't, but like definitely manga, I was like, they took me a minute to like make that connection.
Yeah, I was going to say, had I not, like, my first experience not been the Dreamcast game, where Puck's like actually the first person that talks, I probably would have thought the same.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. Okay. We'll go through this one really quick. You know, Snake Baron stuff happens. Guts walks off on his own as he does, lone wanderer style, and then you know, Puck rides a freaking bird. That's a pretty common thing where Puck will get involved with animals of some type, which is kind of cute. And rides in and finds Guts. Then Guts does the gentlemanly thing to throw Puck in a puddle. And while all this is happening, basically the clouds part, begins to rain, and the priest and his daughters show up. They pick up Guts, and Guts, you know, tries to ward them off, saying that he's being pursued by evil spirits, and they don't listen. You know, he's a priest, he's a man of God, you know, he has God protecting him. I did take a quote here. So God says, "I'm being pursued by evil spirits, a legion of them." And then the priest says, "Don't worry, my friend, I have God on my side." And the way I just said that makes me think of God and anime on my side. But
yeah, definitely, yeah.
And then interestingly, you know, when Guts gets in there, and he actually gets attacked by evil spirits, the dude's like, "What the fuck? Like, this is a real thing?
This wasn't supposed to be real."
Yeah, it's like, you believe in God but not like evil spirits. So the whole nature of religion and God in Berserk is something that will be heavily expanded upon. But this is a little bit of a taste of it. Up there are, you know, standard priests, and there is a legitimate entity known as the God Hand. As far as the presence of a, you know, almighty quote unquote God, that's yet to be seen.
I did like the nod to the Spanish Inquisition that they had with the Duke. Because if you don't know, the Spanish Inquisition was Spanish friars or priests or some Catholic position, but they were essentially going on a witch hunt looking for heretics that weren't, you know, Catholic. And so they literally started torturing everybody like,
yeah,
"You're worshiping Satan, right?" And they're like,
yeah, no.
Not. And it's like, okay.
okay.
Yeah.
I thought it was funny how on the carriage they were like, "What's that you got there?" And they're looking at his sword, and he tries to be like, "Oh, I use it for cooking." Like,
yeah.
What are you talking
Don't worry about it.
The thing is,
yeah.
If I thought he regularly cleaned it, and I don't think Guts regularly cleans it, you probably could fry some eggs on that bitch.
Yeah.
So
Big enough fire, you could.
Yeah, for sure. So they have a little dialogue where the priest is like anti, you know, kind of giving your life away for nothing, because he had a nephew who died on the battlefield as a soldier, so he kind of detests and resents that. But Guts sees value in it, you know, because he's in the thick of it. And I wrote down that he reveals that he doesn't believe in any form of afterlife, which I think is significant based on things that we'll see later in this chapter, and, you know, presumably what Guts has seen in times past. You know, he goes to bed. The girl is very kind to him. She gives him a blanket, and while he dozes off, he has a very ethereal, strange dream where he's in like an alleyway with like it's very high ceiling, like up into the clouds, and it's a narrow alleyway, and there's water at the bottom, or it could be blood. It's not really clear. But he's naked, and there's an eye peering at him from above, and, you know, he's just wading through the water naked. and then his brand starts to like perk up and fester, and the ground becomes spikes, and he's impaled. And I think it's at this point that he wakes up. And I can't remember if in that dream he sees the
fetus returns.
Yeah, the fetus baby. Which
giant fetus though.
Yes, he's giant.
Naked.
Yeah.
Which I thought was obviously, trying to convey that he feels very exposed.
Yes, exactly. So that happens. So clearly he's got some bad headspace stuff going on there. We get the reveal that there's like a minor demon thing called an incubus that gives you nightmares. It feeds off the fear generated by the nightmares, rather. Kind of looks like the Eye of the Beholder from like D&D, kind of.
Yeah.
So,
I did realize something really interesting about the scene too that I completely missed.
Yeah.
So, in that dream,
yeah,
the fetus or the creature that goes after him also has the same eye missing as Guts.
Yeah.
Cut to him screaming.
It does. Yeah. So, wait, is that the same? Yeah, it's right eye, right?
Yeah. It's the same eye.
Yep.
And I just thought that was really interesting.
Yep. Good catch. Very good catch. So, the evil spirits come because, the incubus is there. Gut says that the brand kind of summoned them. So, it's revealed that, like, they're kind of attracted to the brand. Colette gets impaled. We get a giant skeleton army, which is essentially, what's happening there is that the corpses from underground, their bones are being possessed by evil spirits and then brought up, and then they're trying to get to Guts. And you get...
Is that what happened to Celeste? Because that was one of the things that I got confused about, because it seemed like she just almost instantly turned evil.
Yeah, so she got impaled and was killed, and then they took over the body, and she went into the carriage and beheaded the priest, and when she came out, she was holding his head, and Guts clearly knows like what's going on there, and you get that really nice scene where he sees her and processes for a second, but he hesitates, and she ends up getting to him, and I think she stabs him. And then, obviously he just cleaves her in half, as you do. And then he, pukes, clearly affected by this. And, it's noteworthy because it's, an innocent girl who showed him kindness and didn't need to be involved with this in any way. Which is why it particularly affected him, I would say. This is one of those instances where Guts, he's just fighting. He's fighting all night, and the skeleton army doesn't go away until morning. And this, as we'll find out, this is like a regular occurrence for Guts in his life at this point. I mean, he tries to go to sleep, and he's being tormented in his nightmares and woken up, and then he has to fight, and he's just exhausted, justifiably so, and I think we'll get more of that as the series goes on. But the admirable thing is that he keeps going, despite having every reason to quit, and Puck wants to follow. So good on Puck. But what he has to say to justify the situation with the priest and Colette, he said, those two didn't have the strength to protect themselves from a walking disaster like me. That's all there is to it. You won't be able to walk if you're always worried about crushing the ants beneath you. And that's, pretty much just, like you said, Logan, him justifying it to himself to have some semblance of, like, sanity, I guess.
Because he also started laughing shortly after that fight, too.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, laughter is a pretty common thing for those types of psychotic breakdowns.
I think it's cool because you get a huge swath of emotions. Like, he's sad, he threw up, he's like tired. He's angry.
Yeah.
And then he's just so furious that he shoots a cannonball into the sky to shut up the skeletons' voices.
Up.
He's like, if you don't shut up, I'm losing it. I have not slept.
Yeah. I mean,
and I think this kind of works in tandem to what he said before he fell asleep, even in the carriage, because I think what he said in the carriage, that's one of the panels that I held on to that stuck with. When you were talking about the what is it, like the nephew or the cousin that died off in battle?
Yeah.
Caleb.
Yeah.
That panel I think was interesting because I think that's one of the few times Guts is telling the truth.
Yeah.
Like, just flat out, period.
Sure.
This is what I think, versus like putting on a front, where it almost gives off like Guts knows I probably am being foolhardy here, but like if I don't go on this quest, it doesn't mean anything. Like we'll learn about later, like his backstory, like what I'm on this quest for will lose meaning somehow to me, or I won't be like my life won't mean as much to me if I like give up. Yeah. So like he's just he feels stuck in a weird way. Like I'm living my life the best I can for what I got.
Yeah.
But so it's really crazy seeing that, and then shoot up in the air.
Yeah, I like that scene too.
This is the panel. This is the best panel in this arc, in my opinion.
It's a double page spread too. I just didn't capture both of them, but yeah, where he just absolutely cleaves through the skeletons. It's very good.
Just the immediate of like in the story, he processed it. It made him angry that these people died. It's time to kill. It's time.
He's gone berserk.
Yep.
Pretty much.
Time to duel.
You got one where Puck's looking around. He's saying, "Is this the world that Guts lives in?" And yeah, pretty much is the world that he lives in.
We should change that.
Yeah, we should make it better. How do we do that?
No, he should change it.
Oh, he should change it. What is he supposed to do?
Go to college, get a job.
Oh, I thought you were gonna say go to therapy.
I mean that too, yeah.
All right. So next chapter, Spanish Inquisition, heretic execution. Guts comes in and throws a head at the Count. And you get that cool panel where like Guts's brand is like splashing blood, and then he takes his fingers and he like splashes it at him. Yeah.
Well, he does like I took that as like him drawing his finger across his throat, like.
Yeah, I guess that makes sense. Yeah. So I wrote here, the Count's head looks kind of similar to something else, egg-like in nature. So I'm not sure.
Egg.
Yeah, so like right here, like it, so
they're calling him an egghead.
Yeah, but he, you can see right here, like the one-eyed motif is a thing, but he also like right here just straight up looks like a Behelit. Just more visual motifs there, and reading these chapters initially, I don't know, everything with the Count and like the depiction of him in the gluttony always just made me very like uncomfortable, I guess. He's truly monstrous in this series, but
so going back to the eye thing, are you trying to say that Berserk is just full of one-eyed monsters?
No, I think it's representative of something greater, but I'm not sure what.
Greater than a penis joke?
I don't know. Penis jokes are pretty great. Yeah, I don't know. I don't exactly know what to make of it. Like the fact that you brought it up for the fetus creature is very interesting. So maybe we can circle back to that once we find out more about that. But I feel like this whole one-eyed thing, and maybe Hiram, you might know, is something that's a lot more prevalent in the earlier chapters of Berserk, but they start to not be used as heavily going forward. So it's possible that Mira had like an idea in mind of how to use this here that wasn't necessarily carried forward, but I think that it's representative of some type of tormented soul, I guess. I can't think of any other general way to encompass it other than that.
The artist was listening to a lot of Metallica.
Oh yeah.
So like the one thing. So before we go forward about like the story, because we're going to be talking about a lot of stuff in this arc that is different. Like things change. Miura openly said in an interview he would draw the entire chapter before putting the words to it, because he said that he needed to see it on paper before he could figure out what the characters would say.
Okay.
That's insane to still think about now.
Yeah.
That is. So I don't think Miura does not strike as great as this story is. He's not. I do not think he's the planner type. I do not think.
Yeah.
Like Akira Toriyama almost from Dragon Ball, kind of.
I'd say Toriyama's a little worse than him, because I still think. I think Miura had like, these are my big plot points I want to hit. This is the story I want to tell. How I get there, I don't know yet. Then you compare it to Toriyama, where he goes, androids, peak gum man.
You know, be cool. You know, be cool. Yeah. Magic gumball, dude. Yeah. I'm bored. I'm bored with it now. Time to get rid of it.
Yeah, pretty much.
New plan. I guess one little point I had is that I think it's interesting how many, so far, every person Guts has been after that we've seen that's been a demon is nobility or like in a position of political power.
Yeah.
And I always thought that was weird that like it wasn't just here's a goober walking around killing people village for village. It's like someone that is like in a position to just reap on souls. Left and right and just eat however they want, right? Rather than having to go like out and find them. I think that was weird. I don't know what that means, but
no, I think that's a very apt point. And I mean, getting into how these creatures are birthed in the first place, I mean, as we'll later find out, it's through you're sacrificing something that you love and cherish in favor of power, and what comes with power is all the things that the Count and the Snake Baron have. So so the heretic execution happens. Guts kind of walks away, gets apprehended by guards. There's like 50 of these dudes, full armor, and he's just cutting through them like butter. There's a nice scene where I thought Guts was like pretty strategic. We get like the first instance of Puck using like a flash, like a elf flashbang technique sort of thing to kind of stun them. So Puck like stuns some archers on like a balcony, and then Guts uses his sword to like break the balcony down so that they fall. So I wrote this scenario parallels of one that will happen later on. I'm not sure what I meant by that.
Is it the fact that Puck saves Guts basically, and Guts immediately says like we're even because he saves Puck from getting caught by that one soldier, like in his hands? Is it like a?
No, that's a good idea though. I don't think I'm not sure.
Did you notice the art style change from like the beginning of that chapter towards the end?
Oh, so at the very beginning of these chapters, there's like a few pages sometimes where they'll have like an almost
painting style,
like 3D
painting or like watercolor or like something.
Right. It's pretty much at least 2 or 3 chapters an arc will have that.
Yeah.
It's usually for really, really big moments.
Is that what you were talking about, or something different?
Oops. Yeah, no, that's what I was talking about.
Okay.
Because it was at the beginning towards where he met the Count for the first time. The art style was just
very different.
Different.
Yeah, very dark. That art style is the way it looks is how the Black Swordsman arc makes me feel. Everything's just kind of dark, and
there's nothing in sight. Almost, it feels like you're just kind of in it. You're in the thick of it.
Yeah. We do get the introduction of one of my favorite characters from this arc named Vargas. Just like a small little gremlin dude who, like Guts, has, at this point been torn apart, and he's seeking revenge.
Why is he a gremlin? He's just a guy.
I think he's cute. I like Vargas.
Call him a gremlin.
That is a word to describe Vargas, Caleb. I don't know if it's accurate, but it is definitely
it's
a word. It's a word.
It's like I agree on both fronts. Like he's a gremlin, but he is like the nicest gremlin you'd ever want to. That's a gremlin. Like he's just
okay.
He's been disfigured by this cow, and you guys were just like, gremlin.
I'm gonna play devil's advocate here.
Malik's gonna go find a real life gremlin for us.
If man flipping comes over and goes.
that count. I want my vengeance. I'm like, that's a gremlin. I don't care.
Okay.
Or we're friends. He literally has the cloak over the eye.
So basically, you can be friends for years, but if I were to come to you and did that, you're like, Hiram, you're a gremlin now forever.
If this is a Halloween party, Hiram, if it's a Halloween party and you do that, I'm either gonna go, he's a Jedi and he hasn't pulled off the cloak to show off the lightsaber, or he's a gremlin. One of the two.
No in between.
No in between. Pick your poison.
So I wrote that Guts absolutely murks Vargas by punting his cane. Like he has his cane on the ground, he just fucking punts it.
See, that's one of the things that I was talking about at the beginning is like some characters he seems like he's somewhat nice to, but like some he's just like, I don't care for this person. And I think sorry. I was gonna say
Logan, go ahead.
Yeah, you go ahead. I won't say a word.
No, I was just gonna say, like, maybe that's him seeing some of himself in Vargas, because Vargas also has a singular eye.
Yes.
But I don't know. Maybe he just had a worse time than Guts, so he sees Vargas as a version of him that failed.
Yeah.
Or that never made it that far.
You're absolutely correct there, because there's explicit stuff in the text about Guts talking about Vargas failing. So I think that he does look down on him in that way, and he's saying, I'm not going to be like that. I'm not going to be pathetic. I'm going to fight and, accomplish my goal. And Hiram, do you still have your train of thought?
Yeah, my train of thought was like, you guys mentioned earlier, hey, he wasn't mean to the priest and his daughter, but he was mean to Vargas. The difference is the immediate interaction, though. What does the priest and daughter? They offer him a place to sit for a while. What does Vargas ask him to do? Hey, can you kill the count? Like, at that point in Guts' eyes, it's like, all right, well, listen, I was going to kill the count anyway, but the fact you're asking me to means either you have a good reason to, or you're just like a dude looking for power.
Yeah,
I think Guts doesn't know until later more stuff gets explained.
I think Guts is absolutely fed up with the way of the world and the people in it. And when he sees people like Colette, he thinks that they're like, uncorrupted by it, and so he gives them some more sympathy. So Vargas is a pretty cool physician dude. He takes him to his lab. He's like, yo, dude, kill the count for me. I want to cut him into little pieces, that demon. And he reveals that he has a secret compartment that opens with a doorknob that is made of like a shark jaw.
Very smart place for a doorknob too, because nobody wants to grab something.
Yeah, exactly. Good point. You got the Behelit. Looking pretty nice there.
Mr. Potato Head.
Yeah, Mr. Potato Head looking ass. So that's a short chapter there. Did you have any thoughts about the Behelit when you first saw it, Logan? Like what you thought this thing was, or what it was gonna be?
No. From interactions with people that have read Berserk, I knew that it was something significant in the sense that like it can grant power, but I don't know anything other than that. And I might be get confused with like some sort of fruit that happens later. But my initial thought was it's got to be some sort of like key to turning people into demons or something.
You thinking about the gum fruit?
No.
I was thinking the same thing.
Are you thinking about the Rokakaka fruit?
No, I don't know what the Rokakaka fruit is.
Now I want to know what happens if you eat one of these. till you just die.
He just popped in.
Wait. Logan, deafen for 10 seconds. Or take your headphones off for 10 seconds.
Wait, hang on. Wait.
Just let us know once you figure out how to deafen.
Well, hang on. I can do this. Now I can't hear anybody.
Okay, good. No here?
No, I can't hear anything. I turned my volume down all the way.
Alright, Hiram, a Skull Knight eats Behelits, and then he makes the Blade of Actuation out of them.
You're right. Yeah, but that's different. He's not a normal dude. I'm talking like if I were to eat one, what would happen to me?
Yeah.
Would I die?
I guess that's a good point.
Arms.
Well, okay.
Did you turn into Skull Knight?
Come back.
That'd be cool. That'd be the coolest guy.
Logan. He's not gonna look up.
Oh, can I come back?
Yes.
Sorry.
Hey, welcome back.
No, you're good.
I got distracted by the
No, you're good.
Yeah, okay, well, to answer your question there, Hiram, I mean, even in these chapters, we learn that Behelits summon the God Hand. And there's mention in these chapters of cleaving, of fissures in time and space. So even with just that information from these chapters, you could probably... My guess is if you ate the Behelit, it would be indigestible, and it'd just be like corn.
Okay, you know what? You're probably right. Probably right. I'd probably have an awful bathroom time about a couple days later.
Yeah, probably.
I just want to kiss it.
Yeah, yep.
Very kissable lips.
So here's what Vargas has to say about the Behelit. Well, first off, he mentioned his backstory. He was the castle's physician. The Count was a very cruel guy. Originally he was cruel, but he changed, basically. He was still human and cruel, but then he changed, and he ate Vargas's family and tortured them. And that scene came with a very nice meme where Logan sent me a picture of the Count eating someone, and then he said, "This is me with the eggs."
Yeah, I think I still have the picture.
Yeah, it's a very good picture.
Because I absolutely love eggs, and my dad now refuses to eat eggs because apparently when I was a kid, I would just go
yummy.
slurp up my egg.
Hey, eggs are great, so there's nothing wrong with
Dude, that's why you're so jacked. Good protein.
Eggs.
Yeah.
I gave myself keto flu by eating eggs.
Oh no. So Vargas refers to the Behelit as a key, or Guts refers to it as a key. Vargas doesn't know what it is. Yeah, so that Lord Zondark guy that Guts slayed earlier, he's pissed. So the Count's like, "Yo, dude, let me help you out," and he just puts himself inside of him in his slug form. It's pretty gross, but what Zondark eventually becomes is pretty much straight out of Parasite. Have you guys watched that?
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. It's basically a fight straight out of that, with like the tentacles just slashing around in every direction. So they're all in Vargas's lab. You get a comedic scene where Puck is trying to mimic the Behelit. This will be a running joke where Puck like personalizes it. So we'll get to that later, but
I did like the scene where he was carrying it by the lip, just like stretching its face.
Yeah. I think it's noteworthy that the Count came upon the Behelit by chance, buying it off of a traveling merchant who purchased it somewhere to the east. So this thing is like traveling around, and it made it to the Count's hands, quote unquote, by chance. So Guts has another "Don't Touch Me" episode. Zondark busted in and fights him, and Zondark gets memed in the community. Like there's one particular YouTuber that I watched that really did not like this guy. But what I did write about him in this is that while Vargas is kind of a representation of Guts but in like sort of a failure sense, in like a more pathetic, frail sense, if you want to put it in Guts' perspective. I wrote that Zondark is a representation of what Guts could be if he gives up his humanity to his quest for revenge, a mindless brute consumed by hatred. Because Zondark is another example of like, in this panel here, like, look, that looks like Guts.
Yeah, it looks like him. It does.
Yeah, the one eye and everything, and
the count's
but it's the
covering his
opposite
hand.
eye.
The count's covering the hand.
Yeah, that's
the
true.
same hand Guts is missing. So like it's
and the sharp teeth, like the Chainsaw Man teeth, is something that they've drawn for Guts occasionally. So I think that's noteworthy. You get the nice panel here with the blackened sun and the members of the God Hand.
Shadowy.
Yeah. But yeah, Guts is pretty precise. You know, at this point, it's not really Zondark. It's just the Count's quote-unquote daemon. How do you say that?
Yeah.
Daemon?
Like even during the fight where like he gets the slash in his head, it's like
Yeah,
at
it
that
just
point,
pops
it's like,
right out.
Yeah.
like
So
this
it's like,
bit
did he even
too.
have any agency, or was he just like an AI bot?
Yeah.
Darked out.
Yeah.
Yeah, exactly. So the whole darked out thing. So I really do think that Zondark is a representation of like what Guts stands to lose if he just gives up his humanity and just becomes that, which we do not want.
Was it Freud that talked about how everybody has shadows?
That's Carl Jung.
Oh, is it Jung?
Yeah,
Okay.
the Jungian shadow. Yeah. Yeah, so you know, they fight, they escape through the sewers. Guts says, "This Behilla is yours, this Behilla is mine," and just yoinks it from Vargas, and
Fine now.
you know, he can't protect himself there.
What are you gonna do? Guts walks up and says, "Your shirt's now mine." Rips it off of you. Are you gonna stop him? No, I wouldn't.
No,
the shirt's his.
Yeah.
I did save a panel for when they left the sewers, because this is another one that kind of like was floating for me. Is Puck? This was the first time we really got Puck's perspective, because Puck's always making comments on what Guts does, but he doesn't really say what he should actually be doing in that moment. And I feel like this is the first time we get a different perspective or a philosophy that's not Guts. That's not Guts lying. It's not Guts like putting a facade, and it's not someone being preachy to Guts. It's just like, this is what I believe. I believe like people should just be living, you know?
Yeah, I think I got that quote here. That's I like that moment for Puck too. It's a very nice and heartfelt moment, and I like that Vargas just agreed to it, but then unfortunately just gets yoinked by the Count.
Yeah. One happy panel, one happy page.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Can't be happy for too long.
Not to derail too much, but while we were talking about Puck-centered chapters, why is Puck naked? I have my own idea, but I'm curious to get your guys's.
So I was
Innocence?
I was gonna mention this a little bit earlier, but like I've always like looking at Puck. I don't have as much of an issue with it now, but like originally just seeing Puck, because it's an elf, right? But it has a child's body and it's naked. It just leaves you sort of like, I don't know.
The way I always felt about it is like he's drawn with no
genitals. Yeah,
like androgynous
at all. Yeah. And I think that again at this point we don't know anything about elves and how they work, because Puck's the only one we've met.
Yeah.
I always took it as, well, if you have no genitals and you can fly around and whatever, and people can't, and Puck even says unless someone really wants to see him, he wants them to see him, they can't see him.
Yeah.
Would a society of that race even develop the need for clothes?
Sure.
Yeah. So my takeaway is like, if Puck is supposed to be the audience, which I get, it makes sense that they are the most like blank androgynous.
Sure. Yeah.
Non-descriptive character ever. Like aside from the pointy ears and the wings, there is nothing descript about Puck's physique or design at all. Like, there's no unique outfit, there's no unique sword that he carries around, or any unique trinkets or accessories. It's just a
Puck.
blank Lego brick of a character.
Yeah, and I think that works for this beginning arc, but I do think that Puck sort of, over time kind of develops more of a sense of character. Yeah, but for this particular set of chapters, I would completely agree with that.
Doesn't he have a hat in one of the anime adaptations?
No, I'm not sure what you may have seen.
Puck stealing a hat as a joke.
So Puck is used later on for a lot of like pop culture references, like like Star Wars and stuff like that. Like he'll dress up like Emperor Palpatine sometimes, but all that to say, Puck as a blank slate and an analog for the audience works for this set of chapters, but I think that going forward, that's not necessarily like the full goal of his character, and there is a lot more beyond that. Okay, so I think what we're gonna do is just finish up this chapter, and then maybe we can, like determine like a next point to get up to, and then maybe we can finish off these next couple sets the next time, and then potentially have Austin here as well to talk about, especially like everything with the Count and Theresia and the God Hand, and then maybe go a little bit into the Golden Age. Does that work with you guys?
Sure.
Yeah, I'm fine with that.
Okay, cool.
So I need to get the second book.
Yeah.
Okay.
So let's finish this part up really quick. Vargas is about to get executed. Guts is kind of just like preparing his arms, repairing his prosthetic, checking his knives and whatnot. And Puck's like, dude, what are you gonna do? Are you gonna do something? And as he's like taking off his prosthetic, he's like staring at his missing arm, kind of thinking about something and pondering on it. And I thought it was interesting because the bandage stub on Guts' arm where it's missing kind of mirrors the bandages on Vargas' face. So they're both wounded from essentially someone who was willing to give up their humanity. So I wrote, Guts sees himself in Vargas. He's upset by this, and he punches through a wall with his remaining arm, which is ridiculous because he doesn't punch through the wall with the mechanical arm. He punched through the stone wall with his actual arm. So
that hurts, yeah. And I just now realized too, after that, when he kind of goes back to the dream sequence, that one creature that also had one eye like him, that he, from the nightmare that he had when he took a nap on the carriage, turns into Vargas, like the head of turns into Vargas.
It's another layer on top of his trauma, and I'm not sure if that scene happens before or after Vargas's death.
It's literally like right after, because they throw Vargas's head. Yeah. And Guts kind of turns away and just makes like a grimace. And then in the alley he sees the creature. Yeah. It has its normal face, and then he says, "You again," and then it switches to Vargas's head.
So I mean, reading from that in isolation, I guess you could construe that creature as something that kind of represents a piece of Guts' experiences that he isn't happy with, or that he let down in some way. yeah, so Guts is kind of being like, very tsundere, like, oh no, I don't care about Vargas, you go help him, and oh yeah, they're talking, and then Guts starts talking about the price of ambition, and Puck has one of his empathic episodes. So let me see what he says here.
It burns.
Yeah.
This line made me really upset too. I forgot about this because Puck says burning like black magma.
Yeah, like black magma.
This stupid idiot doesn't know that when magma goes black, it's cold. It's cold.
Goodness gracious.
Idiot.
Fucking baka Puck. Yeah, but it burns, dark and violent emotions pounding into me, self-hating, destructive, burning like black magma. Is this the source of Guts' strength? And this is after Guts is saying, ambition comes with a price attached. Of course, that price comes too high if you die for nothing. The reward for ambition too great is self-destruction. Kind of interesting. Yeah, so they have that moment. There's a moment where Puck says, like, I don't remember. Guts said something mean, and then Puck bites him, and he calls him he says selfish bastard chicken, but it reads like selfish bastard chicken without any punctuation. Yeah. So I thought that was funny.
So backing up a little bit,
yeah,
it's when Guts hesitated for Puck to even bite him, Puck makes a face, and that face kind of made me think about something a bit later, and I'm like, I don't know if this is just because of like,
you mean
like
this
minor
face?
No, a little bit further back, right? I think.
Oh.
Right.
Like before the
it's the one
bite.
where he's crying, right before the bite, where he cries.
This one.
Yeah, that one.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So, it's like, for the people that have like read or like watched the show before, Guts seems to not be okay with women being sad. Also, like just ladies. Yeah. So like I feel like because of his relationship, I'm a name drop, but Casca, I feel like that made me think of that almost, in a way, because he's like when he's around her, he's like, I don't know how to handle this.
Sure.
And that almost kind of reminded me of that, where he's like, because Puck is androgynous.
Yeah.
Like, and crying. It
Well,
made me think of like that.
Yeah.
I saw that face.
Even the
because
face.
Guts makes a reaction like a horrified reaction when he sees Puck too.
Yeah, I mean the face
his
that
hard exterior breaks down.
The face that Puck is making there even looks kind of Casca-esque, almost.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. But yeah, I mean, Puck tries to flashbang and save Vargas, but it doesn't work, and Vargas is killed, and Guts, really takes it personally, and he says it's time to take things into his own hands, and he, goes and, fetches the people who were about to bury Vargas's head and grabs it. Oh yeah, and then at the end here, you get like
Get that SpongeBob reference too.
The SpongeBob reference?
Yeah, when he's like walking through the graveyard, one of the persons says,
goodness.
"My leg."
Oh my god.
I read that.
True. You get an instance where he's in the graveyard and he gets possessed momentarily and is able to fight it off. Probably takes a lot of power of will, but yeah.
That's a lot of spirits for one person, like shrug off with just pure anger.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I think just for the sake of my voice for one, because I've got a bit of a sore throat, let's stop it here and we'll continue on. Probably, a couple weeks from now, I'll probably schedule the event on Discord. But what I can do is just let me like figure out a good next place to read up to, because I don't want to go.
We can't do the whole Golden Age. We
Oh,
can't.
no. We're not doing that.
No
My idea was to kind of structure it based off of the 2012 films, how those were a trilogy. I thought we could take it in 3 parts like that, and I think that the first one ends at the fountain scene. So I was just gonna look up what chapter the fountain scene happens at, and I think that that'll be a good place to end off.
Another suggestion. We could just do it by the deluxe volumes.
Yeah, we could just do that. Yeah,
that
so
make it very easy for me.
Finish the second one. Yeah, that would make it much easier for Logan. And I still have the second one on me, so I can figure out where that ends. And then I can put that in the chat for, so that everyone's aware of where to stop it off at. So cool. All right. Any closing remarks on the first 4 or 5 chapters here?
This fetus is gonna drive me crazy because it keeps showing up. I'm gonna figure it out. We're gonna figure this out because I swear, because as soon as Vargas dies, the fetus shows up and then the face changes, and I'm like, this thing, what? It doesn't say anything. It just shows up.
It's his guilty conscience.
It's like if you had a younger sibling and they don't like touch you and they don't say anything, but they do like the I'm not touching you. They're like around. It's annoying. It's like, what do you want? And they don't say anything. They just leave. So, it's definitely been one of those, like, I don't know if it's a red herring. I don't know if it's just a minute thread that builds over time as Miura gets time to like stretch out the story and figure out what he wants to do with it. But that's definitely one of those things, along with like Guts's different philosophies depending on his mood.
Sure.
That's kept me interested. It keeps me up.
Yeah, I'm in agreement with you there. I will say, Malik, you do have all the information that you need to put together the pieces for the fetus, but
I think I do, and I'm kind of already ready for the payoff. So we'll see. We'll see how this goes.
Yeah. All right. Does Hana have any closing remarks?
I don't know. Let's see.
Hana, do you have any closing remarks? No, I don't think so. I think she's more of a Sailor Moon kitty.
Yeah. She does have very big like Hime-sama energy too. She is too perfect and too good for any of us.
True. Aren't all cats. All right. Well, thanks for joining, boys. Appreciate your time.
No problem.
And just look for an invite and more information about where to read up to next, and we will talk later. And if you have any suggestions about ways to make the format better, just feel free to bring them up, and we can adjust as necessary. But have a good night, boys.
Cool.
Good night.
Peace out.
Sounds good.
Yep.